Hello, Dr. Duan. Please start by saying hello to everyone.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Duan Hao from Fine Blend Polymer.
Then let's begin today's interview. The production capacity of upstream petrochemicals is expanding rapidly, intensifying downstream competition and driving competition across the entire industry chain. So, against this backdrop, how has the additives industry performed in the market during the first half of this year? And what are your expectations for the second half?
Regarding this question, actually, for the first half of this year, the overall development of the additives industry, represented by compatibilizers, has been quite good. Although the expansion of upstream petrochemical capacity has indeed intensified competition throughout the industry chain at the same time, because this increase in capacity also increases the demand for additives. However, it's true that as competition in the industry intensifies, in the initial stages, it did have an impact on the additives industry, leading to a decrease in the overall profit margin of the industry. Because in the early stages of competition, what everyone might think of first is a price war. In order to capture more market share, this price competition will inevitably be passed on to the additives industry. So, in the short term, it indeed has some impact on profit margins. But in the long run, we are still quite optimistic. Because as competition develops, when it reaches a certain stage, it will inevitably move beyond the scope of price competition and become more driven by product innovation. At that point, for the additives industry, especially for an industry like compatibilizers, this industrial upgrading and innovation enhancement presents a very big opportunity for us. So, at that time, with the development and launch of innovative products, it will inevitably lead to a better improvement in our overall profit margin. That's my view on this issue.
In response to China's dual carbon goals and the EU's new carbon tariffs, has your company developed any targeted new products? What challenges have these new products faced in terms of performance improvement or cost control?
Regarding this question, actually, Fine Blend has always been very focused on the dual carbon goals and this direction. Because our company's own positioning is essentially, as we call it, better for Earth, better for children. So from this perspective, we have always been very focused on the development of products in this area. Through these years of development, we have actually launched 2 series of products. One is called BioMaster, and the other is EcoBatch. These respectively target applications in the field of biodegradable materials and the field of high-value recycling and regeneration. So in this aspect, Fine Blend has always been quite focused and has invested a lot of energy to launch a series of products. These products have different uses in 2 separate fields. One is the biodegradable field, and the other is the high-value recycling and regeneration field. But what we focus on more is how to improve the performance of its products. So, whether it's in the biodegradable aspect or the high-value recycling and regeneration aspect, the series of products we currently offer are all primarily focused on improving product performance. Of course, in the field of recycling and regeneration, we have indeed encountered some price challenges. Because this field currently has many price constraints. So, from our perspective, we address this by creating more value for customers through enhancing product effectiveness, thereby circumventing these kinds of issues.
Chemical recycling technology is on the rise, and it may affect the market for mechanical recycling materials, weakening the role of traditional compatibilizers in recycled materials. How do you view this trend? Is there a corresponding technological layout to respond to this potential risk of being replaced?
From our perspective, our analysis leads us to believe that chemical recycling technology, of course, has many advantages. However, we believe that the increase in its volume is only relative to the past. That is to say, the chemical recycling segment is indeed growing, and its growth rate is relatively fast. But compared to the overall field of circular regeneration, its current proportion is not high. Moreover, we believe that in the future, its proportion in the overall picture will not increase significantly. Therefore, we believe that the challenges in this area may not be particularly severe, not particularly large. Of course, from our perspective, regardless of whether it's chemical recycling or physical recycling, from the perspective of their reaction mechanisms, the demand for compatibilizers is actually consistent. So, for us, this may not be a challenge. Instead, for companies like Fine Blend, it might even be an opportunity. Because for chemical recycling, it is generally used in applications with higher requirements, possibly related to food contact, or some other similar applications where these products are used. So, for this segment of products, it actually has higher requirements for the demand of additives. And in this area, it happens to be an advantage for fine blend. So we believe this will not be a challenge for us, but rather an opportunity.
We see that leading modified plastics companies like Kingfa, Kumho Sunny, and Pret etc. all have factories in Southeast Asia. Does fine blend also have overseas production capacity? And how do you balance local production and cost control?
Regarding this question, we have also seen that leading companies like Kingfa, Kumho Sunny, and Pret etc. have all established presences overseas. Of course, under this overall international situation, fine blend has also recognized these issues. Therefore, about 2 years ago, fine blend was already considering relevant situations and has already established an industrial layout in Southeast Asia. Currently, our factory in Thailand officially started production in January of this year. In order to cope with the risks brought by the current international situation, including tariffs and other factors. The situation of producing in Southeast Asia, in the field of compatibilizers, there are not many localized enterprises in Southeast Asia currently. Therefore, for fine blend, the main competitors we face in Southeast Asia are mainly European and American enterprises. So, compared to these companies, localizing production in Southeast Asia actually has a more obvious cost advantage. Of course, compared to domestic production, this advantage may not be particularly obvious. Because although there may be some advantages in labor resources, due to China's very complete industrial layout, the overall system cost may be lower in China. However, compared to European and American enterprises, when comparing, its corporate pricing advantage in Southeast Asia is still quite obvious. At the same time, our layout in Southeast Asia is not just a simple production base. At the same time, it also has functions related to R&D. Therefore, in Southeast Asia, we will also combine the actual local demand, as well as the demand from overseas markets, to carry out product development and upgrades, thereby enhancing the competitiveness of our Southeast Asian factories' products, and thus enhancing our overall product capability.
Digitalization and AI are hot topics now. What specific applications do you see for them in the additive industry?
We have also noticed the big trend of digitalization and AI. So, a few years ago, we started conducting research and discussions in this area. We believe that currently, digitalization and AI's primary impact on our industry, the additive industry, is still in market promotion. They indeed provide significant help in this regard. Compared to the past, the information obtained from the Internet was quite fragmented and unsystematic. However, with the push of digitalization and AI, it can now effectively filter out ineffective information. This helps both our customers and us to obtain more useful information more efficiently. So, in this aspect, I think it can greatly promote the development of not only the additive industry but the entire industry. From a research and development perspective, we believe that, in the long run, it will also be very beneficial to R&D. As just mentioned, if AI is used effectively, it can avoid a lot of ineffective information. This will significantly speed up the product development cycle, thereby very effectively improving our R&D efficiency and developing products that the market truly needs. This is our current basic understanding of digitalization and AI.
Is it possible for the additive industry to achieve technology collaboration or data sharing with upstream and downstream through digital platforms? How feasible do you think this collaboration is in actual operation?
Regarding this question, I believe that it is very feasible for the additive industry to collaborate and share technology with upstream and downstream. In fact, Fine Blend has done a lot of work in this area over the years. We engage in customized development with many upstream and downstream enterprises to help them achieve product differentiation. So, from a technical perspective, I think collaborative development is a very good direction. It can specifically improve the product quality of different enterprises and achieve differentiation. However, I think there might be certain barriers to data sharing. This is because each company has its own system in the process of product development. I believe that at present, it is difficult to achieve data sharing between these systems. So, while this direction is very meaningful and helpful for improving product development efficiency, I think it will be quite challenging to implement.
Lastly, can you use one sentence to recommend your company's core products or values to everyone?
FineBlend is an R&D-oriented company focused on functional polymer compounds. Our core value is to provide differentiated products to our customers, to enhance the competitiveness of their products.